Welcome to the B2B Broken Gtm Playbook, a series dedicated to fixing how modern companies go to market. I'm Charlie. Over the past years, I've worked with B2B companies managing over $100 million in GTM budget. I've seen what works, I've seen what doesn't, I've seen what looks like it's working, but quietly burn cash without driving revenue. If you're an executive or revenue leader staring at a forecast that doesn't add up, even though your team is maxed out and dashboards are green, you're not alone. You're not crazy. You're just stuck inside a system that was built for a different buyer in a different time. This episode is about what's really going on and what it will take to fix it. Here's the familiar scenario. Marketing walks into the quarterly business review with a polished slides. The charts show that leads are up, CAC is steady, and the attribution models claim every campaign is making its mark. Sales reports that SDRs are booking meetings, E are running demos, and activity metrics are green. Yet, underneath that surface, pipeline coverage is shallow. Deals are stalling and close rates are dropping. Forecasts are being revised downward, and 90% of sales teams missed their quota last year. Despite all of the activity, there is a disconnect. Marketing's metrics look impressive, but they don't translate into revenue. This isn't a failure of effort, it's a failure of a system. We're chasing numbers that look good rather than outcomes that drive real growth. At the core of this misalignment is what I call the attribution trap. In our attempt to measure performance, we build our GTM system around what is easily trackable, not what truly moves revenue. Consider these hard facts. Only 13% of marketing qualified leads become sales qualified leads. Only 5% of B2B buyers are actively in market at any given time. This is an average. It depends on the industry, but that's the rule of thumb. Most of B2B buyers are already through 70% of the buying process before they speak to a sales rep. 80% of buyers will pick a brand they already knew and trusted before starting their buyer journey. Yet, most teams celebrate every gated form fill as a win. Marketing chases MQLs from downloadable content that offers little intent, runs retargeting loops that merely reinforce behavior buyers were already following, and use brand search campaign that by some estimate waste 11% of spend because those clicks would have come naturally. Meanwhile, sales is left with a queue of leads that don't match the actual buyer journey. The data is misleading and the system rewards vanity metrics rather than a genuine demand creation. Let's talk about trust. B2B buyers are risk averse. They want to make the safest choice rather than the cheapest. They don't rely solely on cold calls or isolated ads. They want consistent content and asset creation that educates and reassures. Word of mouth, endorsements, and review that validate your claim. A strong brand presence that signals stability and expertise. If you're spending 80% of your budget on demand capture, sometimes 50% on paid search without investing in brand, you're ignoring the fact that 80% of buyers will choose a brand they already know and trust. Without that trust, your sales team is forced to chase prospects who don't even know you exist. And when the sales leader tells you, everyone knows us but nobody knows what we solve, it hits hard. Being known isn't enough if you're not known for solving a problem. The consequences of this broken system are real and measurable. High customer acquisition costs. When you force your sales team to convert cold buyer, every dollar spent becomes less efficient. Long sales cycles. Without a trusted brand, prospects takes months to move through the funnel. Low win rate. Buyers prefer vendors they recognize. If your brand is weak, you're never even on their shortlist. Pipeline leakage. You might have many leads on paper, but if they're low quality, they slip through the cracks. Budget misallocation. In B2B, you often see over 80% of the budget allocated to demand capture for that little 5% in market and not investing in brand. And if you do a quick math, if there's 5% in market and 80% of them will buy a strong brand they already know and you don't have a brand, almost your entire budget goes to that little 1% who you might be able to convince. In the past, for a large B2B company, I showed that only 20% of leads drove nearly 100% of revenue. Yet, most of the budget was spent on expensive lead gen tactics that didn't contribute. This is the price of misallocation, a system designed to measure activity, not impact. Now let's address the sales bloat. Many companies believe that more sales rep equal more revenue, but without brand, additional reps are simply forced to sell to prospects who have never heard of you. I recall a case where a B2B company was struggling with growth. In a desperate bid, they hired new VP sales known for a stellar record at a major company. His solution? Hire more sales sales reps. 6 months later, the results were stark. The growth was unchanged and they drastically increased the customer acquisition cost. Morale plummeted and the CRO were eventually let go. This shows that simply scaling sales capacity in a broken system only amplifies inefficiencies. When your GTM system lacks brand trust, no amount of extra headcount can compensate for the disconnect between what buyers need and what you're offering. If you ever sat in a revenue review where marketing celebrates lead volume and sales grumbles these leads are junk, then you've seen this disconnect in real time. I've witnessed dashboards that boast excellent ROAS on paid search only to discover that marketing had blended data to mask poor incremental performance. The truth always comes out when you compare the sales note with multi-touch attribution reports. In almost every case, the story differs drastically. This insider knowledge isn't abstract, it's what happens every day in GTM meetings. It's a reality that most executives eventually learn the hard way. If you rely on vanity metrics, you're rewarding noise. So, what's the fundamental problem? It's a design failure of your go-to-market machine. Overbuilt sales, you add headcount to compensate for poor demand creation. Overinvest in lead gen because these numbers are easy to report. You ignore that only 13% of MQL becomes SQL and ignore the fact that only 5% of your ICP is in market at any given time. You underinvest in brand. Even though 80% of buyers will choose a brand they know, brands are seen as too soft to measure. Flawed attribution systems like MTA. MTA only tracks digital touchpoints, nothing online, and also it just only tracks a part of it. You can't track everything. We have a real data problem in terms of tracking. And so what's going to happen is that you're going to be overweight on the bottom of the funnel, which is easier to track, which means that you're going to underrepresent the upper funnel. But what you're also going to do is that you're going to make your marketing teams focus on the how, not the why. Buyers buy because of why, not how. It's not, oh, buyers came through lead through Facebook. No, it's why the buyers became a lead. And really what you're doing with MTA is that you really make marketing focusing on the wrong things. The result is a misaligned organization where marketing and sales chase different, often conflicting metrics. Leadership makes budget decisions based on dashboard that celebrates activity over actual revenue impact. The machine looks busy but is fundamentally broke. This series is about tearing down that outdated GTM system and building a new revenue machine, one that aligns sales, marketing, and leadership around a single coherent playbook. We'll cover the metrics that are costing you growth, MQL volume, last touch ROAS, and inefficient attribution. The necessity of building a brand that creates trust, reduce churn, and shorten sales cycle. How to rebalance your budget to focus on blended CAC and customer preference rather than vanity numbers. Tactical shift that aligns sales and marketing with real-world buyer behavior. Consider this formula. Your available prospect equals your ICP times the percentage of your ICP in market times the people willing to buy from you. And what you want to do is to increase the percentage of people willing to buy from you to increase the available prospects to you. And that's true brand. This is the blueprint for a GTM system that prioritizes preference over mere activity. Next up, the metrics that are costing you growth. We'll dig into the KPIs that appear safe but silently sabotage performance, like MQL volume, campaign ROAS, and flawed attribution model that misguide your project. If you're tired of a system where everyone is busy yet rather than stagnant, then subscribe and share this playbook with your team. This is your blueprint for a true B2B GTM reset, one that builds trust, reduces churns, and drives real revenue. Remember, it's not about chasing every lead, it's about creating trust, earning preference, and aligning your organization around a unified strategy. This is the B2B GTM reset, and it starts now. If it hits a nerve, or if you think I missed something, drop a comment. I read everything and always wanted to sharpen the thinking.